did you see? Oh, there's two of you. Hold on.
My doppelganger's here with me.
I don't know why I did that. Josh Gates' new Expedition Unknown series or shows. It's just kind of like a special, the Afterlife one. The Search for the Afterlife.
I didn't get to see the October special at all. I was super excited about it too. By the way, like, I don't know if you know this about me. You probably do. People out there that are listening probably don't, but I fucking love Josh Gates. I have been a fan since Destination Truth. Loved every one of those shows. And Josh Gates, he's an awesome. You talk about a storyteller, man. He can narrate like nobody's business, and you can see like when he did the Ghost Adventures specials, and he's done specials in the past too. I mean, like he just has this kind of personality where he can just get you involved in the story without you don't even know it's about to hit you, but boom, you're in that story all of a sudden just because he's such a good storyteller. I really like him. And when he would go on Destination Truth and he had different co-hosts. He had Ryder. She was fucking so funny and I loved her. And I guess she's still out there in the world doing something. I don't know. I just never get to see her anymore. But to me, him and her, they made a really good pair. She was like this, I could outrun any man. I could outrun a cheetah, ostrich, whatever. She's badass. She got up in the morning after drinking vodka with the Germans, and she was doing push-ups, and they're all like hung over, and she's like, let's go. They were just such a team running through the forests in Indonesia. They were just all over the place. So I'm a huge fan. I love him. I've followed him for a long time. So whenever I see him, like I told you when I texted you and told you that he was on the Halloween special, I'm like, oh my God, and Josh Gates was there. I just get super excited.
He is really good. He's really likable. I do like how he tells the story and stuff. He's a cool guy. I didn't even know that this was like coming out or that he did like specials or something like that. I only watch it like here and there. But the first episode is really cool because there is, and I won't ruin it for you, but I will tell you, out of the 4 episodes, not all of it is like mind blowing. He goes to a couple of places where he's just kind of showing people's different spiritual beliefs and what they think happens in the afterlife and whatnot. But in the very first episode, they talk to a medical doctor that works in a hospital in New York where they do research to see, like, in the time that somebody's heart stops beating and they're clinically dead and then they're revitalized, they're brought back to life, whatever way, what they can recall from that. Like, they kind of... Yeah. So like I guess I am going to spoil it for you a little bit, but they've got like certain images on the ceiling or over here on the side or on the floor, and they have music, certain sounds playing. And then after the person is, brought back to life and is fine, they ask them like, what did you see? And there's people that can report seeing and hearing things.
Wow.
And they, actually, I can't remember, so I guess you will have to watch the show. If it was both of those things, if they were seeing and hearing things, or if they were just seeing things. But it was cool because they were getting documentation that after this person was clinically dead, their mind was not gone. They were still recording information and taking it in. And so that was the coolest thing that came out of that. And then...
That's bonkers.
Yeah.
That is mad.
That's the kind of stuff like when you are a paranormal investigator, and I'm doing air quotes because I don't know what really classifies as a paranormal investigator. I mean, I think more what we do is exploring and experiencing. We're not scientists. We don't have the, college educations or whatever for that, but we're...
Do you have a doctorate in paranormal investigating?
I could probably type one up on a fancy piece of paper, but it wouldn't be worth much.
I'll get you one.
Yeah, thanks. Put it in a really cool frame too. I'm going to hang it in my office at work.
It'll be antique looking, like it's been there for ages.
Yeah. I mean, we want to say that we're trying to figure this stuff out, but we're just a small part of a huge thing, you know?
Right.
So, and these people are just doing this one small experiment, but it's a pretty cool experiment, you know, that they're getting to do. Other than that, he talked to like psychics, and he talked to some other people that had actually experienced what they call near-death experiences. And so these people tell their stories that they saw angels and whatnot and all that stuff. And all that's fascinating. But to me, the hospital thing was the coolest. And then in the last episode, he decides to go to some remote place in, I don't know, the rainforest somewhere.
Yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah. And
that's my boy.
Yeah. And then just like, you know, take some drugs, some hallucinant drugs. And he's like, that are apparently supposed to basically have like a rebirth of your, I don't know, spiritual self. And you're supposed to.
Oh, I call that coffee.
Well, the whole time that they're explaining what this stuff is going to do to him, they're like, yeah, so you're going to hallucinate and you're going to be reborn. But the potential side effects are that you're going to vomit, you're going to have diarrhea. What did he say? You might yawn a lot. I was like, that sounds like a hangover. That just sounds like a hangover. I mean, this just sounds like he's getting really drunk or something like that. And he's going to see some crazy shit. And that's basically what happened for like 8 hours.
What?
Yeah, it lasted forever.
Oh my God.
But he had a real experience from it. So, you know, he'd have to tell you in his own words. But I thought... I want to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can barely hold my wine these days.
That's me too.
But this sounded like, wow, man, if this really like shows me the light and stuff, I want to be spiritually reborn.
Yeah.
But you might die from it too. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or have mad shits, you know, I mean, both of those sound really, really terrible.
Yeah. And like a tiki hut in the middle of nowhere and stuff. That's not.
Yeah.
Anyways, by the way, this is a podcast. So.
I know, right? Like, you know, I think our thing from now on is, oh, yeah, by the way, we do a podcast too. And it's Creatures of the Night. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris.
I'm Wendy.
Yay.
Thank you for joining us. You want me to tell you a story now?
Holy shit.
So that was actually us just chatting, and you just happened to walk in the room. And now this is why we're introducing ourselves, because we're gonna move forward.
We're gonna bring you in, give you a nice warm hug, a little bit of wine for you, a little bit of wine for you, Wendy, and for you, our guest. And now let's all share in this story that Wendy's about to get cozy around the campfire. Wendy's got a story to share.
Okay. So, sorry, let me get a demon out.
Demon. This one's about The Exorcist.
So I really wanted to tell you, I want to tell everybody else this story, and I want to share the experiences that we had. So this is a location that we've been to. You already know the story and everything. It won't be a surprise to you. I'm sorry.
I might not know the story. Sometimes I just go into places blind, like, it's haunted, let's go.
That is true. And this is around the time that we were looking for just like anything that was kind of in our driving distance. So you were like, sure, haunted, ghost, go, let's go. Yep, and then drive me there. Anyways. So we've had the pleasure of exploring this place, and it is one of my favorite places, which is kind of odd because it's not super popular, and it's not incredibly well known, and the story is not all that like dark and mysterious or anything like that. It's a pretty simple story, but it's an amazing location in my opinion. So this is the James Eldred House in Eldridge, Illinois.
Okay. I'll just say that I'm really excited that you're doing this story. When you said that I drive you, I'm like, racking my brain. Where is it? I love this house. I love this. Oh my God, this was such a great experience for us. The whole thing was such a great experience for us.
And just to clarify what you're talking about, the driving thing. So for years, Chris drove everywhere we went. I drove one time early on, to Kentucky.
That's right.
And you were in the front seat, and I had to slam on my brakes at one point in time. I had to basically smack you in the boobs because I did the mom thing of like, I will save you with my arm. And after that, you never let me drive anywhere. I mean, it was always you. You were like dying, so tired on the steering wheel, but nope. I don't get to drive. And that's fine because I'm even worse in the car about being sleepy. So it probably wouldn't have been a good idea to let me. But in the last couple of investigations that we've gone to in Arizona and in Iowa and Louisiana, you let me drive. And I was just telling somebody the other day, I don't know what's happened to her, that she's like okay with me driving all of a sudden. I guess she's gotten used to it, or maybe like, I don't know, she just don't feel like driving anywhere anymore.
I don't know. It's not like that. When we would go out on our, like, this is one of those cases where we drove for an extended amount of time. I think to get to Illinois, it was between 7 and 8 hours.
Yeah.
We overnight investigate, and then we turn around, got in our car, and drove right back. And to me, it's one of those situations where I either have to stay awake and drive, or stay awake and keep the driver alive. And I can't be that passenger. I can't be the person that's keeping you awake, because if I'm not having to pay attention, I will knock out. And that's my biggest fear. That's why it wasn't like you're a bad driver or anything. It's like, if I have to be the passenger, I will not stay awake. And I can't, like, there was, when we were in Iowa, we were leaving Villisca, I couldn't stay awake. And I think I even said, Wendy, I can't stay awake. And you're like, it's okay, go to sleep. And I'm like, really? If you're okay with it. I mean, it was daylight, so I felt a little bit more secure. Like I wasn't going to have to keep you awake or anything. But man, when I'm in that situation and it's nighttime, I already know what's going on. So I will sit there and slap myself in the face to keep myself awake just to drive. But if I'm in the passenger seat, it's a completely different story. I will just knock out.
Yeah, I've been a very poor co-pilot for you before. And like, if I get quiet, if I stop talking, I mean, I'm just going to pass out. I think that's all the time. That's probably why I talk so much. I mean, it's not even just after 12-hour investigations. I mean, I have to keep moving and talking. Keep going. Because at the end of the day, once I sit on the couch to watch TV, I mean, an hour later, I'm like trying to nap. So
yeah, me too.
Back to this story, my favorite location. So just a super brief history on the Eldredge family, just so you understand where they're coming from, what type of people they were. The Eldredge family has a long lineage dating back to as far as the 12th century and originating around the European mainland area. They are a family that had done quite well for themselves. So as some of the family migrated to the New World, America, they were received very well and took important positions along the East Coast. When Illinois was beginning to be settled, a few of the Eldredge clan were excited about the idea of kind of developing a new area and settling it and being a part of that. So once it was established as a state and established as a union state that would not have slavery involved or wouldn't be legal there, a few of the brothers moved their families out there. They bought large plots of land and they had the money and the men to run these large farms. Nice. So they were farming, crops, and they had livestock, and they had a cheese business. So that was a big deal for them.
Love some cheese.
Yeah.
Good for them.
They did really well for themselves. Once Warden Eldredge, one of the first Eldredge to settle out in Illinois, passed away, his son, James J. Eldredge, inherited the property that became the home to the James Eldredge House. The James Eldredge House is done in like a Greek revival, or was done, because now it's kind of, not in great shape. But it was done in like a Greek revival kind of look. It was completed in 1861.
I didn't realize that look was called the Greek revival. I've seen so many houses in that same style. that I just thought, like, people, the first settlers are like, I don't know, just like build it up, put some windows, slap a door on the front, and we're done. Like, I just didn't realize that's what it was called.
I didn't even think about that either. Like, it just looked kind of like a regular farmhouse to me. As soon as you put a square house, a front porch on it, it just looked like a farmhouse. But it is made, I say that in a second here. Where is it? The James Eldred House was at one time considered the pinnacle of high style and regarded as one of the most elegant residential structures in the region.
I didn't realize it was so she when we were there, girl.
He was like, I think he legitimately was trying to kind of show off in a way. I don't think in like a look at me kind of way, but he was like, we're an established family. I want to be this hub for the community. So we're going to have, a grand home to represent that and where we come from. He's proud of who his family name. But this house is built of limestone. I don't think completely of limestone, but they have like limestone fences. They have limestone like corners. I mean, there's limestone all up in this house. Yeah. And so if you're one...
Didn't we, when we walked the perimeter, it wasn't there like limestone, like,
a stone
I don't want to say
wall.
Markers, but like a stone wall.
There's a short stone wall that's all limestone. Like, I don't know if it was just the most popular material around there or if it was the fanciest material that they can get their hands on, that this is how we're going to be fancy. So, because it does make the house is still holding up, and it looks quite grand. But if you are someone that's familiar with the stone tape theory, then the fact that it's built out of limestone, or there's a lot of limestone on the property, is a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
So, just real quick, if you have no idea what the stone tape theory is, it's the idea that environmental elements are capable of storing traces of human thoughts or emotions, intense emotions that would just like cement to this object or whatever. And
I think
get recorded there.
Yeah.
Like a tape recorder.
Like a tape recorder. Right. I was just going to say that.
So, and this theory was thrown out in the 19th century by scholars and philosophers. So it wasn't just a bunch of wackos.
I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't.
Yeah. And it's kind of been like reintroduced over time. And, there's some people today that say it's a crock of shit or whatever, but if you got people that believe in the power of like crystals and whatnot too, what's the difference between a quartz crystal and a limestone rock? They're these natural materials that could hold energy just like that. Now, not everybody believes in the power of crystals either, but there are a lot of people that do. So the same thing here is that it records that energy, and then it's possible at certain times that energy will just replay itself. And that's usually considered a residual haunting. However, from our own personal experience of the James Eldred House, I do not think that it's a residual haunting that's going on there. Not completely, at least. I do think it's possible that it maybe that's going on, but there's also intelligent shit going on there as well.
Yeah, that's a fun place.
So I think that limestone might not just be recording residual energy. I think it might be helping to empower it as well, in my opinion. But back to the family. The Eldred House served as not only the family home, but a gathering place for the region's elite and laborers alike. Their home was the place to be during the 1860s and the 1870s. However, life was not so great for the family itself during these years. All three of the daughters had passed away during these times.
Oh, man, that's right. I forgot. That's sad.
And all, of course, at home. So Alma, who was only 4 when she died. It was of unknown causes, and that was in 1861. Allison and Eva both died at the age of 17 from tuberculosis, but at different times. They were both 17, but one passed away in 1870 and the other in 1876.
Okay.
So not only that, but James's crops were failing, and he was feeling the strain of maintaining a large property and the business. I think he was kind of like the head of he had brothers, but I think he was kind of the head of all of that. He had established himself that way, and he wasn't doing too well. So he began to take out loans that he couldn't repay, and he was getting sued, and things were not going very well. So he eventually sold his property to a cousin, and the cousin allowed him to remain on the property with his, the rest of his family, because he did have sons and his wife and whatnot. And they continued to live there in the house until James's death in 1911. In 1936, a man named Robert Lewis purchased the property, but only to use the house for business purposes. He had an agriculture business, and he farmed the land, and he used the house for like business stuff, but he did not live there. And we can tell you that there is not shit around this house. It is in the middle of a cornfield, basically, or a wheat field or something. I didn't see a gas station for miles, nothing.
Wow. There was a restaurant right down the street.
That was a bar/restaurant. And yes, they did have that. So I imagine it was probably desolate then, and nobody wanted to necessarily move out there.
No, actually, the cemetery seemed to be more of a happening place than that bar was. That creepy fucking bar. The bar was creepier than the cemetery.
There were a bunch of people at the bar, though. But I can't. When you in movies where people like strangers walk into a local spot and everybody stares at them, that is 100% what happened to us.
Yep.
But there was nowhere else to go, and we had not planned for that, like for eating. We didn't pack a dinner or whatever. So we had to try to order something. And the people were very nice there once we sat down. But I can remember when we walked in, it was very awkward.
It was very awkward. It was one of those, the jukebox skips and then the music stops. And like everyone stops, they turn and look. And we like look at each other. Then we just slowly walk in, and then the chitter chatter, starts
back up,
again.
And it's fine. And they actually had salads.
We had salads.
Yep.
Yep. We had salads.
Yep. And then what happened after we ate the salads? Do you remember?
Wendy's belt broke.
What the fuck is up with that? I was like,
we need our belts on in Paranormal Investigations. We need them to hold our pants up. And what happens when we're eating salads? Busted.
Yep.
So
this was a new pair of pants for me. I was trying to wear some black jeans. They weren't solid black though, so they were like, I don't know what you would call it. They were
like the faded kind of black.
Yeah,
right?
like a faded black. And
they're cool.
They did not sit on my hip right. I had to have that belt. I spent the whole rest of my night like having to constantly pull up my pants all the time. It was so obnoxious. And usually I would like clip stuff to my belt too, flashlights and whatnot. Nope, none of that was going down. I would have
Ladies
been
and gentlemen,
fucking
I need to
plumber crack into everybody.
This is why we bring rope on all of our investigations. Just in case.
It was so funny though. And I can't imagine if those people were watching us or not. But when I stood up and that bitch just popped and broke. Like I'm just like I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. And then I stand up and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? It just burst. And then my belt was like, nah, I'm not doing this.
I know. I feel like at that moment you sat back down and you're like, oh my fucking God, you're not going to believe what happened. And I'm like, a mouthful of lettuce and Caesar dressing. What? And you tell me, I'm like, no, that can't happen. You have to have your belt. That doesn't make any sense.
Which,
anyways,
side note, these days I have learned I do not wear jeans on investigations because your jeans make too much noise, in my opinion. They do on me because I'm not one of those special people that their legs don't touch. My thighs do rub together. So I do not wear jeans on investigations anymore. And I basically always wear leggings or exercise pants. So I don't ever have to worry about belts breaking again.
That's true. That's a good point. My jeans are not 100% jeans. It's not like I'm wearing Wranglers. They're made out of stretchy material. As a matter of fact, I'm pulling on my jeans right now, and they're just as stretchy as your leggings, and I think that's why I like to wear these. But yeah,
they're like that softer material.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about those fucking jeans from the past where you had to have a belt, otherwise you were screwed.
That's right, because just so everybody knows that we investigated this location in 2011.
Damn,
so 7 years ago.
Don't make me feel old, Wendy. Shit. 7 years ago.
Yeah. So this was like one of our big investigation. We're so excited.
Big investigation.
Yeah.
This was, my car was so new back then. I don't think it was making the fucking tractor noise back then.
You did have that new Escape.
Yeah. Yeah, it was new back then. Yep.
Okay, so nothing out there, so nobody really wants to live out there.
Shit. Unless you're a farmer.
Right. There's lots of farmland. The house is in the middle of farmland, so they're definitely using it for that, but this guy didn't live there. So other than two families that had sought refuge in the house for a short time after a flood in 1943. No other families ever lived in this house. And actually, since the Eldredges built this house, no families ever lived here but them. Like that family visit. I mean, these two families during the flood, they visited, and this Robert Lewis guy, his company went through there, but nobody else lived there like a family but their family. So I think that might have a lot to do with why the place is so active. So
maybe
thanks to the Illinois Valley Cultural Heritage Association, that's a mouthful. I put that in parentheses because I was having trouble even typing all of that. Not just saying
that
it.
is a mouthful.
The James J. Eldred House was cleaned up after years of falling apart and to disrepair. They cleaned it up and they continue to work to restore the property. They have events there to raise money and to work on the property. And in 1999, it was added to the National Registry of Historic Places.
So in the Heritage Society, do they have an acronym for that shit?
They just take the first letter of all those words I just said to you, and that's it. So it doesn't spell out anything cool or nothing. But they do call themselves like the IVCHA. Nope. Yep, that's right. The IVCHA Society.
Oh, wow. All right. That's...
No, not society. I'm just making up names for them. They got to work on that. I mean, I'm just assuming there was a whole bunch of cultural societies in Illinois, and so they were running out of choices to pick. And that's why they had to go so wordy with it. But I appreciate the work that they did at this place because I love it so much.
Being a member of the Creatures of the Night Paranormal, I can understand where they're coming from.
It's a little wordy too, yeah. I know. When you're constantly trying to promote on social media or whatever, it's like, God, this is a lot. We should have a lot of words. We should have went smaller with that.
I know.
Oh well. This house has a sad history for the family, the losses that they've had. But like I said, no super dark, mysterious past or anything like that. However, I feel like the activity was amazing the night that we went there. And we're not the only ones. This place has had multiple ghost hunts or paranormal investigations, and people have had the same experiences every time. It's like this place never will fail you.
Yeah, that's exceptional. When you go to a place and you're hoping to come into have an occurrence, have an experience. And like you just mentioned, this is one of those places that will not fail you. That's based on our one time being there. But it seemed like every portion of this place, I can't even say facility, because even out in the grounds, we were having experiences left and right. Wendy turned her head. I was seeing shit. I started walking forward. Wendy started feeling things. I mean, it was everywhere you went.
Yeah.
Stuff was happening.
I remember when you were trying to get my attention outside or whatever, and I was like fucking dazed watching something at the tree line or out and then you're like pointing to the attic or whatever. And I'm like, what? Huh? Are you talking to me? I mean, it was like multiple things were constantly going on, but our biggest things were, well, we've got plenty of EVPs that I feel were intelligent. They were responding to people being there. Some of them did just seem like random words or whatever, but there were other people there. We were not there by ourselves, so they might have been responding to something someone else was saying. But we also got 2 amazing photos, and we don't get photos just all the time, but we got 2 apparitions. And then, of course, there was the experience for myself that I will never forget. And
I know.
And I will share with you in just a second.
I won't forget it either.
No, you won't. At least I didn't abuse you on this one. But let me explain that in just a second. So just to share with you what other people claim that they experience. So other paranormal activity that people report is that there are reports of a Native American sighted along the tree line because when they were digging on the property, like this historical society or whoever, like people cleaning up, they accidentally dug up his grave. So they think that they disturbed him. So now that I say him, but they just said Native American. I guess it could be male or female. But they tend to see that person on the property now that they've kind of rocked the boat there. But,
wow, that's a big old whoops.
Yeah, oops, because they don't like to be messed with after they've done their thing. So, and then they claim that rocks have been thrown in the kitchen, especially for some reason. And there's a lot of debris in this house, so it's really easy to find a little pebble or something and throw it because it is in a little rough state when we were there 7 years ago, and I don't imagine that it's too much better. But they say that rocks are thrown there. And then, of course, people report footsteps and knocking on the door, the front door, actually. So I guess they're in the house and then somebody's knocking on the door. That's a little crazy. Conversations between male and female. So they hear both male and female voices in the house. Giggles of young ladies and equipment getting turned off and on its own. Small shadows in the nursery and apparitions throughout the home and the grounds. Some have even been touched within the house. So I think
And what about full spectrum pictures of the front of the house?
Yeah. So our 2 apparitions that we saw were, one is one that I got with my full spectrum camera. It's the only damn good picture I've ever gotten from this full spectrum camera. And it's basically dated itself already. And it only, in that time, in its lifespan, it gave me one good picture. I'm so mad with it. But
hold on a second. I got one good picture off of this bad boy that I'm pointing at too. I mean, sometimes that's all you get, and now it's been laid to rest.
You know what though, and to me, it was an amazing photo, and some other people might question it or want to say something about it.
It's an amazing picture.
So I got a picture with that full spectrum camera of what I believe is half of a woman or a girl's body. It looks like you could see her hair, and then you see a shape of a woman, with the curves, and then you can kind of see a pattern on a dress.
On her dress, you can see that pattern. Yeah, that's what I clearly saw.
But you cannot see her face. It's blocked by the rest of the wall or whatever, because this photo was taken. I was outside. We were getting the history lesson of the house outside. The entire group was outside. Nobody was in the house. And I was taking pictures of the front of the house. And this was in the upper middle window. It's not really a window. It, I think, used to be the door to the balcony that doesn't exist anymore because there's no porch balcony anymore. But so it's a door/window area. So her face is blocked by the rest of the wall because I am taking it from outside and she's inside with the photo. In front of the window. Yeah. I can totally see a body, and it's the best damn photo that ever came from that camera. But if some other people want to say, I don't see it or whatever, then fine. That camera was garbage, but I love the picture and I think it is something.
I love the picture also. It is something because it's more evidence. of all the locations that we've been to, we've gotten so much evidence visually and through our audio recording devices, and we might have also gotten evidence on the video had something not happened. But yeah, it's a great piece of evidence. We don't ever walk away with multiple photos.
Yeah,
I mean we haven't yet. So
no,
that was incredible.
And so, so the story that isn't in like the historical documents of the house or about the family or anything, the story that you get from the tour guides there, or if you just kind of sneak around on the interweb a bit more, you'll find out that they say that a traveling salesman stopped there at the home. He wasn't well. The family took him in and he passed away in the home. They also tell you on the tour that they think the old foreman haunts the location. He did not die on the property, but he was very serious about his job. He was very dedicated to his job. So they think that he is lingering on the property in the basement area and out on the grounds. So the photo that you got is of an apparition out in the yard, and it's almost like it's in black and white. You can't see his face, a little Slender-man like, but you can see different shades of black and gray and white. And he has his hand up in front of this woman. There was these two women there that we talked to several times throughout the night, and they were taking photos, and he has his hand up almost as if he's blocking her camera, like, no photos, please. And it's full body, like you can see from head to toe on him.
Yes, and I want to just touch on something that you said a second ago about the foreman. Now, you don't actually have to die tragically in an area to be to remain there. It could be a place that you loved, enjoyed, or put a lot of heart into.
Right.
If that's something that meant a lot to you, you would return. Why not?
Yeah,
it meant a lot to you in life. Why would it just disappear in the afterlife? So I could totally see that being a foreman coming back and tending to the grounds. Now, touching on the photo that I took with a regular Canon, hold on, it's up here, Power Shot. 12.1 megapixels in 2011. And I thought this camera was such a badass camera. I tried so hard to make it work at night without blinding everybody, but I had such a hard time taking pictures with it because it is not a night vision camera. It's for photography. So I'm out there shooting pictures with this while Wendy has the legit I'm going to take these pictures at night and not blind everybody camera. She's got the Fuji, the full spectrum. But yeah, I'm snapping pictures. So when we first get to any location, Wendy and I both jump out and we're immediately documenting every single portion of that place as best as we can. Because, once you're done investigating, you've been up all night and who knows, you're going to sleep or you're not, you're going to drive home. Those details are going to start to slip away. And they're going to be replaced with other things, filling in those gaps. So we have to rely heavily on our photos. So we get there and we document the fuck out of it. I take pictures from left to right, panorama, up and down, every crevice of everything, ceilings, basement, floors, just as much as we can get. And so at night, when I'm taking pictures, I can match them up to the daytime photos and say, this is here. This makes sense. Whoa, there's a dude. It looks like a dude. Why isn't he like any of the other people that I've taken pictures of? And like Wendy said a second ago, he appears to be in almost like a black and white photo. Meanwhile, he's holding what appears to be his hand to a woman saying, "No, lady, no pictures, please," who is not in black and white. Her very much red sweatshirt is gleaming in the photo. So, but his image is just so unique. There's a head. You don't see any features, just a round sphere where a head would be. There's shoulders, an extended arm, and then a body. And it almost looks like bleached out black and white, somebody standing like a farmhand. I mean, it's almost like overalls and there are also orbs around him. And when you compare that photo to a daytime photo, I mean, there's nothing else that would have created that effect.
She also wouldn't have been standing in front of something that's like jetting out at her.
Right.
And we make a point to, we're not the most social people in the world. Like, we really love people, but we really love to sit back and make sure that it's okay to talk to you.
Sure.
I assume that everybody's that way. It's called being cautious. That's all. With your emotions, with yourself.
We're standoffish for a reason. It's just that we've had so many people that tend to just kind of want to knock like what we're doing, or they want to feel superior based off of the kind of technology or science that they're using. And we're not trying to. This isn't a race. This isn't a game.
It's not a competition. No,
it's not a competition. Mm-hmm. We're there for the experience.
These are cool, random experiences that happen whenever ghosts want to make it happen, not when we necessarily want to make it happen.
So true.
So it can happen to you. It can happen to that guy, this guy, and we're all sharing. We just all want to share experiences freely. But but we make a point to kind of take note of everybody that's around us all the time, because we're big about being honest about the contamination that can be involved and who that might be and whatnot. There was a photo that you questioned when you were at the S.K. Pierce house, and then you went back to a group photo and connected it with what somebody was wearing or whatever. And the whole time you were questioning it like, I just don't think it's right. And because you remember, because you took stock of like what everybody looked like and whatnot. So we knew these two girls were by themselves and nobody else was with them when they took this photo. Right. Definitely not a dude, black and white, with no face. No.
And definitely no. Right. And of all the people that were there, there was nobody that was dressed in period clothing. A lot of places will kind of what Wendy and I consider haunting it up, where they dress up to sort of tell you the story. Like when we went to the Myrtles and we took the tour and the lady was in period clothing, right. But there was nobody at the Eldredge house dressed in a manner that would put you back in that day. There was everyone was in their regular 2011 clothing.
Scratchy jeans and all.
Right.
Missing belts.
Missing belts.
So about this foreman guy.
Can I stop? I'm sorry. You said something earlier that really kind of shook me, and I didn't know that there were rocks being thrown into the kitchen. The picture that I took of the man who appears to be like, no lady, no pictures, he's also facing the kitchen. I wonder if that has anything to do with the rocks that are in the kitchen. Is he like projecting?
I don't know. I feel like the whole group took us down into the kitchen, and I feel like they, somebody was like, what was that? And we heard pebbles throwing or something like that as well in the kitchen. But I read, other people's account of their experiences at the, just today, I read this, and somebody was like, some rocks were thrown in the kitchen, but it was a lot of rocks. And I really doubt that many. They were like, I don't think it was all spirits. I think somebody got a little carried away. So yes, interesting that's the direction that he was facing. The rocks in the kitchen thing, it's questionable that's been passed around, and then you can't trust people.
I can't. He's also facing in the direction of the basement, depending on which way you want to look at it. So I'll leave that there.
So my favorite place. Well, the whole experience at the place was great, but this is a big one for me. If somebody says, what was your scariest experience? Well, they'd probably have to ask me 3 years ago, and then this would be the story. But, prior to Iowa.
Villisca? Okay. Yeah, no shit.
But before,
all of Iowa was my most scariest place. Okay.
Right. But before Iowa, this was on the top of my list. And it's still a pretty intense experience because it reminded me a lot of what I had to deal with when I was a child in the house that I grew up in. So, the foreman, I think, We actually have no idea who it was, but while in the basement, we set up a camera on a tripod. We both were walking around the room, taking photos, and we always run our recorders like nonstop on us. I was just taking pictures. There was another woman down there that we were talking to, and then she goes to leave, and we go to kind of move our stuff to another room. But as I get closer to my camera on the tripod, it just falls over. It just falls off. It just falls off the tripod, which is fine, whatever. Like, at that very moment when it happened, I'm like, I bought this shitty tripod and now my camera might be broke. I'm mad at myself thinking that it's just faulty equipment. And the pieces of my camera are all over the floor. The battery popped off, the light popped off, the external light that I use. And so I'm picking all that up and I'm trying to piece my camera back together. And before this whole thing, when we were walking around taking photos and possibly talking to whatever spirits, I don't remember what we were saying. I don't know if we were being polite or because some person earlier in the night had said that the foreman hangs out in the basement and he's not a very nice guy. So I don't know if we were saying something to irritate him or if we were saying anything at all. I don't remember. It's been so long. But I know that when the camera fell over and I'm picking up my camera, I did start being like an ass because I was at myself though. Well, not really at myself is the problem. I directed it to like, if my motherfucking camera is broke, I'm going to be so mad. It was a brand new camera at that time.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm using curse words and I'm not being very polite and I'm mad that I'm piecing my camera together and I'm so worried it's not going to work. And I open it up and it works and I stand up and bam. As soon as I stood up, you're in front of me with your back to me, facing out to the rest of the basement. The basement's made up of like maybe 4 small rooms or something, maybe 3.
Am I in the doorway at this point, or am I blocking?
You're in the doorway of the room that we were in the basement, but there's like 3 small little rooms and like a large hallway in the middle of it. And then the stairs. And so your back is to me and you're facing out to the hallway, we'll call it. You're in the doorway. And as soon as I stood up, I felt something on my back. And it was so strong that even my shoulders like curled up, as if you are like like you're bracing yourself for something to hit your back. And then I remember because it was only on the right side of my body, but on the right side, I could feel like a breath on my neck to where I cringed because I could feel it. And then I darted past your ass, just leaving you there.
Hold on a second. You missed something. So, yes, you did dart past me, but only after you almost completely knocked me down. You forgot to mention that.
I don't remember.
I was like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened?
That's right. That's right, because I listened to the recording today and I could hear you say, that's me. like you thought I was bumping into you. Nope, I was just getting the fuck out of there. And whatever it was behind me, it did not want me there anymore. You seemed fine because you didn't seem to be, reacting to it. So I did not. Well, I don't know if you were reacting to it. My flight or fight, instincts is always flight. So I took off but I turn around. As the investigator that I am, I turn around and snap photos of you.
You did?
I did.
Pictures of me like,
oh yeah. I turn around and I'm like, boop, 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 boop. What's going on? What's behind Chris now?
I'm rubbing my shoulder where it's now bruised.
What is that? So that was like the scariest moment at that point in all the investigating that we had did. And even for years after that, this was the most intense moment that I ever had. It reminded me a lot of when I was a child and I grew up in a house with the spirit that would always come up on me like that. I'd be like getting ready in the mirror and stuff like that. And all of a sudden I could feel something watching me and so close to me. And this was like right on top of me. It's almost like I could hear, but I couldn't. I mean, I didn't know what it said or anything, but it was on my right side and it did not want me to be there. And we have an EVP to follow up with that as soon as that moment happened, it says, I wrote it down. What did it say? It said, it's time to get out of here.
Oh, shit. It wasn't lying.
Yeah. So it was like, yeah, you need to go. But it was fine with you being there. So, it's okay that I left you there.
So I remember this whole situation very clearly. I remember and like you described earlier, we're in this room inside the basement because the basement is actually broken off into different rooms, even though there's no lighting. It's complete darkness, but we're ghost hunters. So, I mean, whatever. Wendy is on one side of this room in the basement. I'm on the other side. And I know that you just set up your tripod. And it seemed like we both walked away, and then all of a sudden your tripod just collapsed, and you're trying to figure out how to look at this shit, but it's complete darkness, and then you realize your shit's just in pieces on the ground, and I'm like, oh no, that's her camera, and you're stressed out, and I'm stressed out, and I was just gonna let that all take place. I don't even know how it fell over. It just fell over, and nobody was even near it.
Yeah, nobody was near it. I mean, you chalk it up to it just is a faulty piece of equipment. I have broken tripods right now that I haven't thrown away or whatever. But it was weird how it just gave up at that moment.
It just gave up. I wasn't even expecting it to be a paranormal experience. I was just, I don't know, not even really trying to feel out the area. At that point, I just was, oh shit, the fucking camera just collapsed and this is not a good situation. So I was just sort of, going to let you deal with it. The whole time you were telling that story, man, that just really put me back at the birdcage. And the same situation and I know that this is off the subject because of your story, but when my light broke, when that little connector broke off of my my infrared light and I couldn't see anything, I was like, I wasn't even in ghost hunter mode anymore. I was just like, shit, no, this is my tool. This is how I'm looking for the ghosts that are here. This is how I capture paranormal evidence. And that's when it happened. Right when I was not even thinking about it. Same situation, just like you said. You're like, fucking shit, I'm pissed off. I'm here to paranormal investigate. Now my camera's in a million pieces. This is new equipment. It was new equipment for me too. And you're not even thinking about paranormal investigating anymore. And I wasn't either. I was just sort of like, I'm just going to let her sort of fix this and see what she can do. And I don't know what I'll do. I'll just sort of wander around in the meantime. You were caught off guard.
Yeah.
Because it just went down. And I don't know if in certain situations they just wait for our guards to be down.
I think that would be yes. I don't know what I'm trying to even say. But if you think about how they say like children are more susceptible to being able to view these kind of things, that's because they don't ever have a guard up. I mean, like they're just so open and ready. But as adults, we're like, we're too controlled or whatever. And I worry so much that when we're not getting activity, like what is wrong with us? Well, I mean, we're a bunch of fucking control freaks, the two of us, both. We're not, as much as we want this and we want to be relaxed and just like be in the environment, we're also still just us. Like, and I don't know if, God, we need those hallucinants that Josh Gates
Josh Gates had.
Something to calm us down, because other than when we get all worked up because we're worried about something else, that's when all of a sudden it's like the most intense moment. And it really was. That was an intense moment for me. And at the birdcage for you. And we should finish that up with, if people haven't heard us say this before, what happened is she was working with one of her lights that had broken. Her Hulk strength had broken one of her lights when she was trying to change the battery. And she's mad because she can't fix it and worrying over it. And then you're about to just give up. You're like, fine, whatever. I just won't use this light. And when you go to like turn to walk away, there was an apparition of a little boy right next to you. And I didn't get to see it. I was on the other side of you because I was trying to like comfort you in this broken equipment thing.
Yeah, like...
And then, there's just this little boy that's like, hey, what are you guys doing? You know?
He was just looking at me. He was standing right there, like wide-eyed, trying to see what is it? What are you looking at? You're not looking for me right now, so this must be pretty important. And I remember I remember telling myself, okay, freaking out won't do you any good, Chris. So just to go and pick up another piece of equipment. It's not as good, but oh well, you've got no choice. So I swallowed really hard because that was my favorite light. And I'm just like, fuck it, I'll just find something else. And as I turn around, there he was. He's just like, what are you doing? Almost like a kid in a toy store, like, you're holding my favorite toy. Can I have it? And I was just like, holy crap. But so I didn't mean to change subjects. I just think it's very interesting that in both scenarios of equipment kind of putting us in a completely different mindset where we have to stop thinking about investigating the paranormal and look back at reality to sort of get the attention of the ghosts that were there the whole time.
Well, we've said before that we tend to get our more EVPs just by having conversations and stuff and them trying to get our attention. So when we're kind of not focused on them is almost when they tend to try to reach us more. So, and we thought that that little boy was interested in what was going on as well. But also a way to grab our attention again. And this was an extreme moment. I did not see it like she did, but she screamed so loud that I 100% believe she saw something. And then immediately after seeing it, she described him like very, very, very detailed. So this was not like... not that I would ever think you're lying to me anyways, but this is a moment that really happened. The way I back it up is the way that you reacted to it and then how you were able to describe it so perfectly afterwards or so detailed afterwards.
Yeah. Another one. And I promise I apologize in advance for straying so far away from your story.
Light here of my favorite location.
But going back to this time, your feeling when you were in the middle of the equipment being on the ground and you're like pissed off, your camera's there, you're trying to get it to work. I remember you trying to get it to hold back in place, but it's like broken. You got that feeling that you had, and that's what made you rush past me. There was something that you sensed or felt. Something had rushed up on you. It was, again, that same feeling that you just described reminds me of when we were in Sedamsville, when you felt like you were being rushed and you had to rush like into me that time with your camera.
Well, Sedamsville was different because I don't know that I was necessarily scared as more as this guy scared me. This guy felt like he was pressing on my back and was like, I don't want you here. Get out of here. Sedamsville was strange for sure, but it was more like, actually, no, you can't exit out this way. So at Sedamsville Rectory, we walk around the corner. There's this weird noise happening. Chris wants to go into this room because we think the sound is coming from that room. And then as she glances to her left, where there are a set of stairs, she saw an apparition on the stairs. And she jumps back because it sets her off. It scared her, it startled her. She thought that it was a real person, and then I think realized a little later that it wasn't a real person. But you kind of jump back into me. You jumping back into, anytime you're scared of something, I'm going to be terrified of something. So, but I
laughed like immediately afterwards because I felt like such an ass.
My mind is slow. I only heard the yell, and my camera is always in my right hand, and I'm right-handed, and so like my camera's in my hand. I'm trying to get you to safety. So I'd go to grab you with my right hand, but I have a camera in my hand. So I punched you in the arm with my camera, basically. And I didn't even get a good grip on you. And then I tried to pull you to the right into the hallway, away from whatever, this room, these stairs. And that's when it was the weirdest feeling ever. I've never felt that, but it didn't scare me. It more shocked me of like, what the fuck? I tried to go to the right and I couldn't. I just couldn't. My foot moved to the right, pulling you. And it wasn't that I couldn't pull you. It was that we just couldn't go that way. My whole body stopped. It wasn't like I was jerking on you and you weren't coming. I couldn't even actually take that step to the right. And it was so weird because then all of a sudden I was just like, okay, that's weird. Why could I not move a second ago? And so you're like, I'm cool. I saw this. It's not what I thought it was. It's just an apparition of half a body. No big deal. It's not a real person. I don't know what's happening into that room, but I think the sound stopped going off, the siren.
The alarm totally stopped. Yeah, the alarm
totally stopped.
It was like a motion sensor, and like I said, I didn't mean to stray too far, but that feeling, that's what triggered me into both of those stories. The equipment malfunctioning led me to the birdcage, and then you talking about having feelings. And now I didn't realize that they were completely different feelings.
They were kind of different. I thought about that when I was writing this, and I thought to myself how I felt like this was the scariest thing, minus Villisca, but this one was pretty scary. But I thought of Sedamsville, and you know what? It wasn't that it was scary; it was more shocking. And though afterwards, I wanted to put myself in a corner for a second and kind of regroup. But I think it was more collecting my mind of like, how is that possible? I'm trying to move my body. I've never been stopped forcefully like that. So, but I didn't feel like this one. It's like I could feel one single presence that said, I don't want you here. And it was funny because it's not affecting you either. So it was only out for me. And then this one, we both had a reaction, and it was like kind of a freeze motion more than it was, I hate you, get out of here.
That's the thing.
That's the difference between the two. The one felt like freeze. Don't go anywhere. Face what you're doing. And then the other one was like, I don't like you. Get out of here.
In that part of the basement, I felt nothing. But when we were in Sedamsville and you punched me in my arm with your camera and then you grabbed me, it was such a weird whirlwind effect at that exact moment. Because like I saw something on the stairs, you would grab me. It seemed like you were trying to take me somewhere. But like you said,
we didn't go anywhere.
We were frozen. It was a really weird sensation.
Yeah. So weird that afterwards I did hide in the corner for a second. Like I remember floating to the hallway corner and being like, I just need to stand here for a second.
I gotta take a second.
I need walls on either side of me. Just for a second. I have
at Sedamsville? Which walls did you shit. That's some bad shit at that location.
Yeah.
Bad.
It was messed up, but I didn't feel bad. Like, and then this thing in the basement at the James Eldred House, it did not feel happy with me.
That's wild.
But the whole rest of the house was a different feeling.
Yeah.
We heard, I take that back. So I didn't remember this until I was looking through our old YouTube videos of our stuff. But I guess twice throughout the night, I felt sick to my stomach, and both times in the men's parlor. But in the rest of the house, I said I was fine. So I wonder if the traveling salesman was held up in the men's parlor, and if I was getting some kind of residual feeling from that, because we didn't really get EVPs to like coincide with that or nothing. Every time I was in the men's parlor, I was like, I don't feel good.
Was it in the men's parlor where the ceiling almost collapsed on us?
Yes.
It was.
Yeah. So I, for some reason, think there's a bed in the men's parlor, but they told us it's a men's parlor and it is downstairs. But for some reason, they have this bed, probably because the floors upstairs at the time that we visit weren't strong enough to hold this bed.
I don't even remember them being complete. Why were we walking around in that place in the dark?
I'm not sure, but they let us.
What's wrong with us?
We were game for it. But yeah, in the middle of standing in that room, the ceiling fell, and we laughed so hard after because we were like, what the fuck was that? And then we just like laugh. And I remember somebody told us to shush or something.
Yeah, they did. They shushed us.
We're like, a ceiling tile just fucking fell on us. Like, how else are we supposed to react? Sorry for having emotions.
Right, exactly.
But
shame on us.
How dare we? But lightheartedness and the rest of that place, we heard singing like nonstop throughout the house. Yeah, female singing constantly. There are multiple EVPs on our YouTube page that is like, and I had remembered that we heard singing like with our own ears. But then we have EVPs where it's like, were you just singing? And then it's like another one. There's like, were you just singing? No, I was just about to ask you that. So these young ladies, they love to belt it out. And they do believe that it's the young ladies that mostly haunt the location and that their spirits are still there.
There was a part where we were said that we could take a break. So we exited the house. We go back to my Ford Escape for some Red Bulls and some cheese snacks. Maybe some chips, but I think it was just mostly cheese snacks and Red Bulls. And as Wendy's on the passenger side, I'm on the driver's side. I've got my recorder running. We're about to get into my vehicle. My vehicle doesn't sing to you when you unlock it to get in, but I got a singing voice on my recorder. And it was such a beautiful, almost like a, hello, how are you? Some weird kind of high-pitched singing. I didn't do that. Nobody was out there singing, but that was the most bizarre because we weren't even in the house investigating at that point in time. We weren't even asking for it. It was just like, hey guys, where are you going? Is it cheese snack time? I want to sing to you. Weird.
Yeah, and we have an EVP, and you have to wear headphones for it and stuff. And the way we used to clip our videos they're really short and quick. But because I listened to them today, and I was like, wow, we do it a lot different now. Yeah. But that shows the difference.
666 clips later,
we've learned this editing thing. And the tricks and stuff, but there is an EVP that says like they can hear you when you sing or whatever. I say whatever because I can't remember exactly word for word what it was. So I almost feel like the ladies, it's not even residual. Like they might be there because because we kept asking, are you singing? So I feel like that was them responding to us saying that. And that is sad to me because I hate for them to just kind of be trapped in that place. But if that is where they're most comfortable and they're happy, then I want that for them, whatever makes them happy.
Yeah.
So like I said, we investigated this location in 2011, but we will repost as much fantastic evidence as we can.
Oh, we have tons of fantastic evidence. We do have tons,
but we'll repost those to Facebook and to Instagram. Our Facebook page and Instagram page are COTN_paranormal. And we'll repost to you guys the best evidence that we have. Those photos are pretty amazing, so you're going to want to see them. And if you ever wanted to visit this location yourself, the Illinois Valley Cultural Heritage Association still has or does have their own Facebook page where they put events up. It's not like all the time or on a set schedule, but they do still have events there. And Mr. Troy Taylor, who is a popular writer and also podcaster now as well, They do ghost hunts there pretty much every year. And their next one is planned for April 27th. And if I got that date right, then, dudes, you just have to look it up yourself, because sometimes I look at something and 2 seconds later I already forgot the damn date. But I know it's in April of next year, 2019. So go to their site, which is Bump in the Night. I'm pretty sure bumpinthenight.com. I don't think I forgot that much. But
and if you can make it, the cemetery is right around the corner.
Yep, I got a little side note on that, and I'm
All
sure
right, then I won't touch it.
Yep. Well, no, you could tell it too, but
no, I mean, do you want me to tell our portion of the cemetery?
Oh, that's what I got at the bottom of the page. Yep.
I was going to say, if you need a quick place to change, the cemetery is a nice, peaceful, quiet spot. Wendy and I, of course, when we used to drive to our investigations, we can't do that anymore. Seeing as you're in Arizona and I'm in New England, it would be pretty much impossible. But we would drive there in our day clothes, and then we'd have to, prepare ourselves for our investigator clothes, which meant all black and black T-shirts.
Right, so, matching tops with our website name on it. Yep.
That's right.
We wouldn't want to, travel in them all day, so we were planning on changing somewhere. Had no idea what the town was like. Well, there basically is no town, and there was no place to change. And we always like to try to seek out the cemeteries to pay our respects to the family.
They got a little bit more than our respects this time.
Yep. So what did we do in that cemetery again?
We had to change our clothes.
Yep. Boobs out, bras on, still, of course. Yep, and just change those T-shirts out while we were there, put our deodorant on.
Yeah. I mean, 7 years ago, we were a little bit younger, and I wasn't always wearing, I have to wear a tank top underneath clothes now to just hold it all together. Back then, I wasn't so concerned about that. So off the shirt went, and then it was all exposed pretty much for anyone to see.
So I think that helped with how much activity we got that night. So if you want to...
Holy shit, I didn't even think about that. We did get a ton of activity that night.
So if you want to enhance your activity, make sure you go and flash the family at the cemetery before heading down to the house. I don't think that's illegal.
I think it was on our list of things to never do, but if we have to, then we have to.
We've changed in a cemetery. We've gotten locked into a cemetery.
Yes, we have. That was fun.
I wonder what else we can get away in a cemetery with.
This cemetery doesn't. Well, when we went, there was no gate around it. It was a very open cemetery. It seemed like it was sort of hilly, but after we changed, didn't somebody roll into the cemetery? And I'm like, well, is this dude watching us? And he's like, I'm down for a good time, ladies. So I remember leaving being like, ugh.
Don't remember that. I remember that it was right off the road that you take into that you would have to go down to get to the house. And there's a lot of trees around it. So it's blocking the street. So it felt pretty enclosed at the time. It was like, no big deal. Nobody else is up here. Go ahead, get out of the vehicle and change your shirt. But you're right. There might have been somebody that pulled in right behind us, but they missed the show. So
nope. We're here to tell the tale too, so we didn't get stabbed that night.
That's always good.
That is always good. There were so many things that happened that night. I remember seeing the lights in that upstairs window when you were kind of in a daze, like you had brought up earlier. I was trying to be like, Wendy, look. Wendy, what are you doing? Look. I was trying to get your attention, and you were looking, but you were looking at your camera. You were watching something on your camera. And I'm like, no. Look. I saw these 3 lights go across the upstairs window. Nobody was in the house at that point in time because they were doing, you remember they had the psychics out around the campfire?
Yes.
And Wendy and I were like, we're fine with that whole thing. We're just going to do our own thing.
I actually really dig psychics, but I don't know if I dig psychics that show up at Paranormal Investigations. You know what I mean?
we had so much exploring to do about this house. It's like, we can do a psychic thing whenever we want. We can't come to Illinois and visit this house whenever we want. So it's like, yeah. You guys go do your campfire psychic thing. We're going to sneak back into the house upstairs where the floorboards aren't really, intact, and we're going to sit up in one of these bedrooms. And do you remember when we were up there and everyone was outside?
We
were up in the attic.
Yeah, that was up in the attic that you were like, I saw something.
I saw the light.
And we did immediately go into the house after you got me out of my trance. And there was nothing in that attic. I mean, there was nobody in that attic.
No, but my dumbass dropped all of the batteries out onto the fucking attic floor, and they were like, "Hey, dumbasses, you're all supposed to be." I mean, they weren't rude like that, but it was like, "Fuck, I made too much noise." That was our one opportunity to be up there with whatever was up there by ourselves, and I made so much noise that they were like, "Hey, we've been looking all over the place for you two women that are not supposed to be up here by yourselves. Come down here and join us in the circle. Come on back downstairs." It was overall such an amazing experience, though.
And I can't tell you how many times in paranormal investigations that the people have to track us down and drag us out of there. That we're usually the last people out of there. That's not like me trying to boast or anything. Like, look at us. Nope. We're just I feel like we're the asshole of the group always. That they're like, where are those two bitches?
Always. If we take a tour, any tour that has anything to do with a paranormal or a dark history to it, we're going to be at the tail end trying to go up the stairs that we shouldn't be going up, taking pictures for way too long, lingering in those hallways, maybe next to the furniture that we really shouldn't be touching on. We're going to be those two where they have to come and slap our hand.
Yep. Ugh, sorry.
I just had to. Is that okay? What are they going to say? It's their fucking job. Get your ass in here.
Yeah. But that's a really cool location. All of the locations we talked about are pretty cool. Like the Birdcage for sure. Sedamsville, me. Who are you paying for it?
Yeah, right.
Baby, be cautious. It was an extreme experience that happened in there. I definitely think that there's something lingering in that place. The people that ran that investigation, we'll talk about that someday.
And the raccoons?
Questionable.
Fierce.
I love raccoons, though.
Raccoons. They were just all over the backyard, like coming right up to us.
Yeah, because they had cat food out for them on the porch, which I don't blame them. I love raccoons. Like I could sit there and watch them in that window forever.
Yeah, they were happening. The location was actually very pretty and creepy on that street. Like it felt ominous and dark and oppressing. Absolutely nothing like James Eldredge. It wasn't ominous. It wasn't oppressing. When we got there, the sun was setting. It was a beautiful farmhouse. Wendy got me a picture for either my birthday or for Christmas that is of a house that is a painted house that has nothing to do with the Eldredge house, but it just looks like it to me because it was just this beautiful old house out in the middle of farmland. And it, you would drive by it any day and not just think that there's all of these hauntings going on inside. But man, it was a real haunted house.
Yeah. Like really. I love it. I love it. The fact that I guess we don't have a whole lot of video evidence of anything, but the visual evidence with the 2 photos and then the EVPs and actually getting to hear the girls sing and stuff. I really love that location. I love that location, even though somebody doesn't really care for me in the basement, but I mean the whole experience that I had. But,
yeah. And another thing,
I could make that right with them.
Right, there you go. I think that location's supposed to be known for something going on in the cheese room, which is in the basement, which we had no experience in whatsoever. Was that one room which was supposed to be the hot, active room.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why we were in the other room where my camera fell and all that happened because we were waiting on like someone else to leave from the cheese room. Yeah, and then that's why I went towards my camera because they had left and we were like getting ready to move. And then it just like was like, nope, bitch. And somebody knocked that shit down or whatever. Yeah. It was just... it's so stupid to say. It was such a cool experience to be terrified, but you know, I can't help but admit that I'm a junkie for that adrenaline rush of having that scare. I don't like artificial, like haunted houses and stuff because it's just some asshole jumping out at you. But like you invading a spirit space and them letting you know what's what, it's like kind of like, I don't know, it's just eye-opening. And that's an adrenaline rush for me to like see that there's something bigger than what's always in front of us. And so this place was pretty cool because I guess that was the first time in a long time since I was a teenager or child in the house that I grew up that I had ever felt something like that. And it was justified. I was using foul language, you know, pissed off about my camera and stuff. I don't think that he's some demonic or evil spirit that's down there. I think he was trying to keep house, you know, he was trying to keep control of what's going on and he didn't like what I was saying. And that's fine. Unless he did smack my camera down. Then in that case, he's an asshole because he deserved it. But I don't know. The place was really cool. The mix of the sweet girls singing and then this like intense experience downstairs and just energy all over the place. And I think it's got to have something to do with the family that lived there and then nobody else lived there and the materials that it was built out of. I mean, just hyper energy or something going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. A lot of different ways that you can look at it.
I'd love to go back there. I'd love to always go back to all the places we've been to. But
oh yeah. No.
It'd be cool to revisit some places that we've been to when we were kind of green on this.
Yeah.
And redo it.
There are a lot of places that we need to revisit someday, and this definitely has to be one of them. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, I like it.
Good story.
I'd like to... Well, if I go back and I'm all apologetic to that foreman, he probably won't do anything.
Don't. Fucking set up... Bring old camera with you. Set it up just like you did before. Pretend to get pissed off that it got knocked over, even though you have new cameras somewhere else. I'll pretend to be oblivious in the doorway, even though I'm like looking over my shoulder.
Just waiting for it. Have you learned now if I rush past you or if I hit you with anything that something serious is going on? Sorry.
I've learned now not to turn my back on you. How about that one? I know better.
God, what is wrong with me?
Hey, you know what? Just it's years of experience. It's years of experience, and we've got it. That's for sure.
Yeah, not that it makes us like pros at it, but experienced at least, right?
I mean, we have experienced, you know, so it's not like, you know, you go to a job interview and you're like, oh yeah, I can do customer service. I can do customer service all day long because I have years of experience. I can do paranormal investigating all day long. Doesn't mean I'm going to be ready for it.
Yeah, those fuckers catch you off guard. We just talked about that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little shocking. I think we're probably most better at the after effect of it and the editing and whatnot. And the saging.
The saging, yeah, I'm down with that. I got that part knocked out. Sage my equipment, sage myself, sage my luggage.
Yep, that's all I got. That's my favorite place. If anybody's ever interested, that will go down in one of my top five. Yep.
Ooh, top 5. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll have to beat that.
What do we think? What do we think for 2019? Or should we give that away in our next episode? Maybe we should gossip about that over the next week or so, and then announce to every people. Everybody?
Every people. Everywhere.
Every people. Everywhere. I had 1.5 glasses of wine. What is wrong with me?
Yeah, let's gossip about it, and then we'll do a reveal. Yes, so you'll have to stay tuned. You'll have to listen to us some more.
Yeah, and we'll definitely... There's a ghost in my laundry room.
It's not. Is it a water ghost?
No, it wasn't a water ghost, but actually it's not coming, so I think it's the cat going through the cat door. Never mind. Thought it was a child getting ready to bust in here, but nope, it's a cat. It's a cat. Anyways, what are we doing? All right, goodbye.
Goodbye. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.